Hi, everyone. This is Deidre Kindred, your nurse advocate, coming to you this evening with Health Chats Among Friends. So, tonight I'm very honored and blessed to have my friend Brent Bousquet.
Bousquet.
Bousquet. See, I knew I was going to.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's Texan Bousquet.
Okay, awesome. So, Brent is with In Good Hands BLS, which is basic life support. So, we are so honored to have him here tonight. So, Brent, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to say thank you again, Deidre. I'm super excited to be on your podcast and on your show. We were able to connect about a month ago and, hit it off from the beginning. So you're an inspiration. So, once again, thanks for
Oh,
having me on. So, of course, my name is Brent. I'm co-founder of In Good Hands BLS. It's a CPR training, education, equipment, and consulting business that I and another co-founder who's a JPS nurse came up and brought in together. My background started out in the Arlington Fire Department. Right out of 18, right out of high school, I became an Arlington firefighter. I went straight to the busiest station in the city and one of the busiest in the state, running over 7,000 calls a year. So a
wow.
lot of our calls and a lot of our volume was emergency medical services. So my background is definitely EMS, working any emergencies, whether that be full arrest, first aid calls, and everything from fires to extrications, the whole 9 yards, right? So my knowledge and everything I've learned is pretty fully encompassed from all emergency aspects. Um, you know, towards the end of my 7 or 8 year tenure in the Arlington Fire Department, I started about thinking of a company that was kind of built off of the things that I saw that happen out in public.
Mm.
And not only when it comes to CPR in general, but first aid, emergency calls in general, right? The last after the seventh year, I started getting frustrated in a way. I started seeing out in public, uh, and it wasn't a frustration towards the public or towards healthcare providers, but I realized that there was a missing translation, a lack of knowledge and education out in the field when it came to working full rest or working basic first aid events. And it wasn't an issue I saw with the people because people want to help. People are passionate. People always want to help. But I realized it started at the grassroots of the training. Who's teaching these people? What tools, what equipment are provided to everybody out in the public, whether they're healthcare providers or regular civilian responders.
Mhm.
And so, as I started digging into it a little more, Janet, she's the RN at JPS. She's been a nurse educator for 35 years, and she's also my aunt. We started brainstorming. We were like, she saw the need for it also. She had taught healthcare, CPR, emergency medical for over 20 years. So, we really started brainstorming. We were like, let's get a company together where we not only provide the CPR, AED, first aid training to healthcare, but to public, and really encompass everything that it includes, not just the training, but the equipment that's needed, the emergency action plans to put these things in place. Because training is just one thing,
Right.
but being able to have the equipment and being able to really use it's a whole nother ballgame. And
Mhm.
so, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've really started to build this program up. Really, we, went full time into business back in June of 2020. And so we are still fairly new, but it's a program and a company that one is, very near and dear to my heart because of, what I've seen, what I do, our skill sets and the ability and, education we have to teach others to respond adequately to these, emergency medical situations out in public or, in a clinic or hospital.
Right, right. Well, I think what you do is amazing, first of all, and I want people to know that it's not hard,
Yeah,
you know.
it's not.
It's not, yeah. And
Mhm.
I think everybody should know some basic CPR, especially moms, new
Oh yeah,
moms.
new
You know,
moms.
the sky's the limit when I start thinking about, classes that you can, help people with or reach out to people if you're not already doing it. New moms, people in churches. I mean,
Yeah. I
those
mean,
first few minutes are so important.
yeah, and exactly, you said it right there. It takes an average of 7 minutes for the first ambulance or fire truck to arrive on scene after somebody's called 911. So that
Mhm.
tells you, how long you have and, how long you need to prepare for these certain events. It's crazy. The first 7 minutes are some of the most crucial minutes that, you can really take into account in saving somebody's life.
Right, right.
Within the first 5 or 7 minutes, without going into too much technical detail, cardiac rhythms, the two most shockable rhythms, are most likely seen within the first 3 minutes. So getting an
Hmm.
AED on board, starting compressions early, or even working on your basic first aid skills and, applying bandages, doing tourniquets, splints, all these things can
Right,
greatly affect the outcome of a patient's, well-being and survival.
right, right. I think it's super important to have it anywhere. So, prime example, when I worked in the ICU at a few hospitals here in the great Fort Worth, it was such a difference from somebody who was resuscitated versus somebody who you didn't know how long they had been laying there. The
Right.
outcomes were so drastically different. And I think it's so important. I think they should teach CPR in schools.
Yeah,
Do they even
absolutely.
do? I think it should be a part of the curriculum, period.
Yeah,
Incorporated in the healthcare class. Do they still do healthcare classes?
they do. Health is still there. CPR, from what I know, there are some classes in high school that still teach it.
Yeah.
Another thing that, of course, I want to make your listeners and viewers aware of, are getting these classes. Obviously, getting them is important, but then also who you're getting them from. One of the very
Oh,
first
there you go.
issues we saw when we started this business were people out there who were teaching CPR, were teaching people to use AEDs or first aid events. They had no experience in actually running these calls and events ever. And so, it's always kind of one of those things. I equate it to a skydiver, right? Or do
Hmm.
you want to learn how to skydive from a very, educated, 10-year, 20-year skydiver, or
Yeah.
someone who's never done it before?
Yeah,
The same thing.
that's a very important point. That is a very important point. I like that because it matters where your instruction is coming from. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes if someone's never experienced it and they just are reciting from a video or a book or something like that, when the real deal happens,
Oh yeah.
so I love the scenarios that a lot of the classes, say you're at a park, and you're jogging or something like that, and then you see a fellow jogger go down. What is the first thing you do? So I like the scenarios too, because that's real life and that's when it
Yeah.
happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things, we definitely keep one of our core values is all of our instructors we have are firefighters and nurses with,
Wonderful.
lots of experience in running these events and calls. One of the
Right.
biggest things, no cardiac arrest, no first aid scene is ever the same.
No.
But having the instructors and, the experience and knowledge of running these calls, we can better prepare our students who have maybe done it before, who, may already be in the healthcare field, to some that have never seen anybody go down, even faint, or, a small first aid event that may happen.
So what I hear you saying is that when someone is searching for a class, ask about the instructor's experience and background.
Absolutely,
That's what
100.
I heard.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's one of those things. I think most people who try to find these classes, don't realize that these instructors don't need to have any type of background or experience. It's the same thing as if you're getting a contractor for your home. You want to see a background in their work and what type of work they've done in the past before you let them work on your own stuff. So definitely, it's making sure people understand that you need to find an instructor that's vetted and that has lots of knowledge and experience.
Oh, I love it. So how did you guys come up with the name In Good Hands?
That was probably just a brainstorming. I would say, one of the days me and Janet had made up, and what are we going to call it? Going back and forth over text. I think I came up with it out of the blue, just as kind of not a funny joke, but it makes sense. Our goal was to make sure our students and our clients knew that they were in good hands when they, bought equipment from us, when they, bought a training curriculum from us. So, it's kind of that little funny pun, of course, because, with CPR and first aid events, you are working with your hands too. So, I think it kind of works out well, and it kind of sticks with what we do, our business.
Right. Love it. Love it. So I'm going to bring up a hot topic.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so how are you guys working with in this season of COVID with your classes?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely at the beginning of COVID, things definitely slowed down. And that's when we really first opened up to the public for these classes, not smaller healthcare events. Um, our classroom holds 20 to 24. At the beginning of COVID, we maximized it at 8. That was our max capacity at that time. Now things have started to open up a little more, so we're back to 12 or 16, depending on if it's an organization that works together already. Masks are still required. That's still going to be a requirement, for time coming. Who knows when that'll end? But we definitely, keep the COVID precautions in mind. We can't neglect, one, scientific evidence, and then the general population's well-being. So, definitely everything's sanitized after every use. Everybody has their own individual mannequins. Everything is very secluded and keeps everybody as safe as possible. Now, obviously, there are some there's skills and things that we have to do which involve 2 or 3 people. But I believe as long as we keep, masks on, everybody's got hand sanitizer, everybody's all right with working together. It provides a safe environment.
Now, what is some good advice you would give someone who is, say an event happens during our season of COVID? What would be a good tip that you would enforce or educate on as far as CPR?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another good point. And this was kind of my view even before COVID. When we're talking about doing CPR, most likely this is, and we're talking about public CPR,
Right.
where mouth to mouth may come into play, right? Mouth to mouth is still taught. The skill isn't actually done as often anymore. But my point of view personally, and what I teach my students, is one, you have to protect yourself. And that COVID or not, you are number one, because if you can't protect yourself, how can you take care of somebody else at that point? So, whether it's unknown if the person who went down has COVID or any other disease that you may not know of,
Right.
if you're uncomfortable with doing that mouth to mouth, that's perfectly fine. Continual chest compressions do wonders. People don't realize how important continual chest compressions are. So, that's one of the things I push. If you're ever out in public, you feel uneasy about doing mouth to mouth, that is okay. Doing continual chest compressions until first responders get on scene will do wonders for that patient at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Great answer. Great answer. So, another question would be is that how are you spreading the word about what you guys do? Because I know it's a lot of home health professionals that
Yeah.
sometimes they have a little bit of difficulty finding a reputable CPR um, business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you brought it up. We started out with social media marketing. That's probably one of our biggest right now that have, definitely brought in individuals that need their basic life support, healthcare, CPR renewed. Another great thing that, we just got accepted into, TCC and the Small Business
Oh,
Administration created
that's
an event.
great.
Yeah, it's called the Everyday Entrepreneur Venture Fund program.
Okay,
And
okay.
so it was a long vetting process. It took me about 4 or 5 months to get in. But now I've been accepted in the program where, we've created a really tight relationship between In Good Hands, the Small Business Administration, specifically Tarrant counties, and then Tarrant County College. We've all come together. They're going to help us market, get our names out there. The Small Business Administration is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
It's a huge opportunity
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, I still think of myself as a fireman and not a businessman or a marketer, right? And so,
Right.
as of right now, it's still been a lot of social media. We're starting to finally get referrals and a lot of word of mouth, which is great.
Hmm.
But yeah, anybody and everybody, we go out into public, we make ourselves known, introduce ourselves, drop off goodies to different offices. But definitely the home health, you brought it up. It's kind of a hard niche to get into because everybody is almost individual. Everybody's
Right.
kind of uh, have to take care of it on their own. So social media
Hmm.
has been our best way to reach out to these individuals.
Yes, that's how I found you. And
Yeah.
it was just so happened I needed my renewal, and you did amazing. It was very comfortable. I felt safe. I didn't feel pressured. And you sometimes even healthcare providers, they get that anxiety feeling,
Oh
when they
yeah.
go to renew their CPR or take CPR for the first time. Anybody, sometimes it's that anxiety that, but you guys were very patient, very thorough, I must say.
Yeah,
and
I
and
appreciate
it was great. It was great. So I would tell anybody, you guys are my CPR
it.
instructors now.
Well, of course, when I'm teaching a seasoned nurse, ICU nurse specifically, it makes my job a lot easier, right? I think our class, it was supposed to be an hour and a half or 2 hours. It ended
Yeah,
up being what, 3.5 because
yeah,
we ended up talking, about all the calls, all the,
yeah,
things we've
yeah.
been on. But,
Awesome.
yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our goal. I tell everybody at the beginning of our class too. When any of my instructors are teaching, most of them are firefighters, others are nurses, Janet's like, I said, an RN.
Hmm.
We're an open book. I have nothing to hide. Some things may come out pretty blunt and honest, but I believe that's the way you have to get through to people.
Right.
Not everything, especially these first aid CPR events, they're
Hmm.
not pretty.
No.
The best thing I can do is prepare somebody a little bit mentally for these situations. Know what you're getting into before they happen.
Right.
Because I don't want there to be any surprises. I
Right.
want everybody to be as comfortable and confident leaving my office, leaving the classroom, and then be comfortable and confident actually working that scene.
Right, right. Yeah, with me being seasoned, I've taken a lot of CPR classes. I even taught CPR myself, and I really enjoyed my time there. Like I said, I can't iterate enough how thorough and comfortable I was, and it was very professional. Um, it was great. I can't say enough about it, and I love what you're doing for the public.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Especially coming from you. I saw, us talking back and forth. It was easy to see your passion
Hmm.
for advocacy. And I know I've told you this before, but the position and roles you're filling right now are, so instrumental, so important. You're one of the first I've seen to create this business and this organization to go out and really advocate for people on a one-on-one personal basis. not through, whether it be a hospital or, any personal doctor. I think what you're doing on a personal level allows for that honesty and the ability to seriously and honestly advocate for these patients. I think it's great, and the work you're doing is awesome too.
Well, thank you. It's not about me tonight. It's about you.
That's all right. You deserve recognition too.
Oh, goodness, goodness. Well, I had another question, but it just left my brain with all of that wonderful recognition. Thank you. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
work of the heart. It really is. I love what I do, and I love seeing that light bulb go on when I'm explaining something to someone, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And not in a
absolutely.
non-judgmental way. So that's important.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's, the same thing with us. I
Mhm.
think, you know, another one of our biggest struggles is combating what people see on TV or read in books.
Oh my goodness. Hot
And,
topic.
I'm sure people bring up all the time, well, this is how they did it in Grey's Anatomy for you. And I'm like,
Oh
well,
my goodness. You know what? I cannot watch those shows. I mean, it's just so funny because I remember I was watching it was either House or Grey's Anatomy or one of them. And somebody was on the ventilator or they were doing CPR or something. I'm like,
yeah.
that's, and my sister goes, I cannot watch these shows with you. It's entertainment. I was like, it ain't entertainment to me because it's just like they're doing that all wrong.
I know. It's totally different.
Oh
It's,
my
you
goodness
know,
gracious.
while I
Yes.
wish, being a firefighter was like being on Lone Star 911 or whatever it may have been, the
Yeah,
scenes and everything are just so
right. I'm like,
different.
and everybody's so crisp and clean and pristine and everything. It's like,
I
that ain't
know, I
how it
know.
happens. There's a whole lot more stuff involved.
Yeah, yeah. Doing
Yeah.
CPR out in Texas when it's 110 degrees is not a pretty event at
Or
all.
even when it's cold, because we do
Yeah,
get a little bit of a chill here. We just had that bad storm, but yeah, it's not, and then being outside of the hospital is even different and more detrimental can be if you don't act and remain calm.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, and that's such, and we keep talking about things, I like to bring up in our classes, but it's true. That goes back to being able to help yourself before you can help someone else.
Yeah.
These events, cardiac arrests, seizures, strokes, everything in between, anaphylaxis, things like that.
Right.
They're
Choking.
scary events.
Mhm.
People's lives are on the line.
Right.
It's one of those things, one, helping somebody in an event like this is, at the end of the day, does not come natural to anybody. It's something that's acquired over time,
Yeah.
right? It's something, once you see him do it so many times, it starts getting easier and easier.
Right.
And so,
Right.
you know, providing this quality training, you pretty much want to train until you can't fail anymore. And, that's what we work on. That's what we try to provide.
Yeah.
Is the best quality training with the best quality mannequins with the most up to date, AED equipment, things like that, or what they're going to see in real life.
Okay. I'm going to bring up another hot topic.
Let's hear
So, American heart versus non-American heart.
it.
so
That
they
is a good one.
so you want to make sure. So let's talk about that a little bit because there's a lot of companies out here.
Absolutely. So let me preface by saying we are a training center through the American Heart Association,
Mm-hmm.
the Red Cross, and the American Safety and Health Institute. I think those three programs and three organizations are great in their own specific ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are talking about healthcare provider basic life support or ACLS or PALS, it's imperative that I, try to reach out to people and let them know the American Heart Association is the front runner, the leader of these trainings. They've got the highest standards of training. They've out of all three programs, I believe one of them you have to have some sort of experience in the field before you can teach these classes. So there's more checks and balances with AHA, and I believe it's one of the more accredited programs for all hospitals, for all doctors' offices, clinics, home health, nurses, anybody in the medical profession in general. I do notice a difference in other trainings because I couldn't tell you how many knockoff programs there are,
Right.
and another one that kills me is when people want to get online certifications for these programs. They ask me about them, and
That's a hot topic too.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that kind of bothers me because it's almost like, oh, wait till I get online and Google it or whatever before I administer, because the real thing is the real thing. There's nothing that replaces
yeah,
that. I don't care if someone goes down on you. You want to be able to act,
right,
not like, oh, well, they did it like this online. To me, that's almost
yeah,
going along with the television shows
yeah.
because
Oh yeah, exactly.
get
I
it.
mean, and especially that tells me, if somebody's doing online, how many of these online classes that take 2 or 3 hours are we really paying attention to? So not only do we lose skills, but then we lose the attention spans of everybody who's watching them. And at the end of the day, most people who may just do them online are there for a card. But when something really does happen, what experience or training are they really going to have?
Right.
And so, it's just like being an RN or being a firefighter. You have to have skills. They have to be in person. Firefighters and nurses, when it comes to CPR, we do the same things as we would do in public if we
Yeah.
weren't healthcare providers, right?
Right.
The public has the same abilities we do. And so, making it a reminder that, hey, these skills are needed in person. By an accredited organization such as the AHA are imperative. Luckily, most healthcare organizations are pretty strict on requiring the American Heart Association. So, that's one of the good things. But yeah, especially for public, people
Right.
who don't have any background in it. It's one of the hardest things to get through people's head that, hey, I know this online certification will get what you need, but are you really getting anything out of it?
So I can think of at least two important questions to ask, whether I'm a healthcare professional or a person that is not in the healthcare profession. Number one is, you know, what is the background of your instructors and experience? And then number
Absolutely.
two, is it American Heart Association? And you mentioned Red Cross and a couple other ones, but that would be
Yep.
two of the main. What would be another question that you would think someone needs to ask when they're looking for
So, I think you hit some of the big ones on the head. I would say when we're talking about those certifications, you want to make sure one, you're going into the right class.
right?
Is this the right class for me? One of the biggest issues I see is people wanting to take these classes, but they're unsure of what they should be taking or what they should be doing. Anybody that's looking to go into the healthcare field, or maybe you've already kind of dipped their toes in it, they're looking for public CPR. Well, at this point, you're becoming a healthcare provider. So it's better to have basic life support.
Right.
And then, yeah, what programs are you teaching? And it goes beyond CPR too. The
Right.
American Heart Association, the American Red Cross, and American Safety and Health Institute all offer different programs that aren't just CPR. There's a lot of great programs out there also. But yeah, those two are probably the biggest.
Right.
Also, I would say, the next question I get from everybody is, all right, well, what is this class? Who's it from? And how long does it take? How long does each class take, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, it's most classes do take between 4 and 6 hours
Right.
for
Right.
new certifications.
Yeah.
Because, with us, we don't cut corners. I want to make sure you're getting the best experience, the most knowledge you can in that period. You know, one of my biggest fears is for one of my students to go across one of these scenes and have to work on a patient and not, you know, not have the knowledge or the ability to do it.
Right.
And they come back to me and they're like, you know, Brent, I failed on this, you know, I don't know why. So, you know, every class we teach, we make sure everybody's comfortable and confident with what they're doing.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I think that's so important because you walk away knowing that you can make a difference in someone's
Yeah,
life when they most need it. Oh, yeah. And then, another question that I think about too is that you're very cost effective. I want to mention that. We're not going to talk about the cost, but it's worth every single penny,
absolutely.
and it's
Um,
it's very cost effective. If you want to mention the cost, you can, but I just wanted to say
yeah,
that.
you know, I'll just kind of talk about it for a second. We do our best to keep it, these classes reachable for anybody of any income. I don't make these classes super expensive. You know,
Mhm.
in my opinion, our quality of teaching is worth a lot. You know, it really
Right.
is. My instructors, I'm proud of, it's worth a lot. But at the end of the day, we have to make these classes available for anybody, regardless of how much money they have or they don't have.
Right.
It's important that everybody has the same skills. So yeah, you know, we make sure to keep our cost below all of our competitors. That's
Mhm.
one of our number ones. Because I want to make sure that everybody can attend our classes. You know, it's important to me. You know, I've come across situations where students weren't able to pay day of, and at the end of the day, I care about these students getting training, right? So, you know, on a couple different occasions, we've been able to front the cost because it really matters for our students and for us to get the quality education that they deserve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, one last question, or comment rather. I believe that if you are a human being that's in contact with other human beings, you owe it to yourself to take a CPR class, learn the basics, just do it for yourself or the benefit of the ones you love.
Absolutely, 100%. And, you know, that is everybody. At the end of the day, you know, most full arrests happen in the home.
Right.
You know, a majority of them do. And so being able to have these skills, and, you know, you brought up earlier, new moms, new dads, you know,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
something that, yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm not a father yet, but I know, you know, one day,
Right.
you know, if
You
I were
will
to put
be.
myself in somebody else's shoes who doesn't have this
Mhm.
experience,
Right.
it'd be scary. So yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
Everybody, anybody, we have classes available for public, for healthcare provider, and we special cater any classes for groups, you know, whether if it's new
Awesome.
moms, babysitters.
Right. Oh,
So
yes.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. Well, Brent, thank you for this. This has been amazing talk, if I should say so myself. So, if someone wanted to learn more about your classes, when are you instructing? What is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, in good hands, we take care of all of our certification training needs, all of our CPR, first aid equipment needs, and then consulting for any businesses who need emergency action plans put in place. The easiest way to contact us is through our website. It's www.ingoodhandsbls.com. And then there's a contact page where you can put all of your information in, as much or as little as you want. And, you know, I make sure within 12 to 24 hours that you get a response from one of us. So that would be the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Yes, and you guys are very informative and very responsive because I had a question later on after I signed up and he was right on top of it. So please, 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 if you are a human being with a heart, you need to contact Brent at ingoodhandsbls.com. It'll be well worth your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thanks for having
Yes.
me today.
No problem. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Health Chats Among Friends, where we bring you reputable resources in your local communities. Tune in next time for another amazing resource. Thanks.